Well, were you a little shocked to the response to your NCAA comments?
No comment.
Dude, I don't read the internet. I don't work.
No, I mean everyone
Twitter.
jumped on board with it. You were
Really?
like nation's hero yesterday.
Really? Good. I'll go to the NFL too. I think that's getting sloppy too. So maybe I can get everybody mad at me. But honest to God, I didn't hear one thing. But after looking at the film, I still say it's an issue that we got to correct.
Well, we're going to shift gears here a little bit.
All right,
So, looking at your opponent and you guys, the biggest disparity obviously is defense. They're only allowing about 57 points. So, saw you working on that with practice with the guys today. Where do you have to improve with your team?
You know, there's a couple of issues. The turnovers that are leading to 20 and 18 points off turnovers are freebies. You know, it's like fumbling in the end zone, picking off one and running back for a touchdown. Hard to defend that. 45% right now defensively would be the worst in my career. So we've got to do a better job of that. Some of it is we're just not playing as hard and focused. Some of it is, we held Kansas to 43 or 44, and we let these guys shoot 46 or whatever. You know, we just maybe played the score instead of the game. That was disappointing, but there's no question that right now we have to get better defensively, and that's what this week will be for now, both in practice and in the game. We're going to put a big emphasis on it. We're rebounding pretty well. They shot a little better from the three than Kansas did, but I still say turnovers, defense, and still free throw shooting 69% isn't good enough for us.
Do you feel like these guys have it within them? I mean, this is a team last year that was, like you said, up in a lot of categories.
Well, and one of the reasons, I mean, it's similar team. It wasn't that Miles was the greatest defender, but Jaren, blocked everybody's shots. And so if guys got beat, and right now if guys get beat, so we got to do a little bit of a better job at the point of attack. Nick has actually done a phenomenal job on the ball screens. I don't know what you guys can see from where you are, but compared to last year, he is like much, 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 much better. It's just that we're getting beat on some dribble drives. Guys are blowing by guys. I think it's a lack of staying focused when you get a big lead. It wasn't as bad at Kansas as it was last night. So that means we're playing the score instead of the game, and we're going to start working on playing the game instead of the score.
I know you're going to go pretty hard today. Were you happy with the result?
I thought we were very average early, and I thought later on we kind of grew into it. It's, everybody wants to play in the NBA but me. And to play in the NBA, you got to go back-to-backs, you got to do this and that. So all these guys think because you have a game and you have a practice the next day, it's like, tough. And they've got to learn how to do that. And I thought the second half of practice was a lot better than the first half. I thought we made some progress.
You mentioned last night, too, you wanted to hold people a little bit more accountable for things. How do you feel that you did that today? Well,
better today. I just watched. I think guys held themselves accountable a little better, which is good. When players are coaching players, it's always a good sign. We had a chance as a staff. We spent a lot of time on our film today and a little time on our opponent, Louisiana Monroe. Tonight now we'll spend some time with the team on that. I got my radio show, and then I'll be back spending more time on Louisiana Monroe. So, we need to hold everybody accountable. I mean, and they need to hold each other accountable. And we just can't have the blow-bys we had. I mean, it's hard to help defensively, but nobody really helped. It was kind of a group letdown in that second half after playing pretty well most of the first half.
With Joshua Langford, too, knowing that was his first double-double, I found that to be quite surprising, just knowing the kind of player that he is. What were your reactions just, for him to get a double-double?
For the most part, I love the way Josh played. I mean, he ran his lane. He did his job, not to coin Bill Belichick's favorite. I hope he didn't do it like he did this weekend because they struggled. But if everybody does their job, he ran his lane. What he did so impressively in that game, he got rebounds at the rim, above the rim. He went there. I think he got 10, 11 rebounds. He played within himself, one or two bad shots. Every shooter is going to take that. For him and Cassius, if I can keep him with two bad shots, that's a good day, And I just thought he defended pretty well. Him and McQuaid are our two best defensive players and struggle a little bit. once we got into the second half. But I thought for the most part that was a pretty complete game, and I was impressed with the way Josh played.
Getting some rebounds from your wings, like Langford and Arns getting some, and Henry's getting some. You think that's going to? There's some more available now with the people that graduated and moved down.
Yeah,
year.
and yet, one thing you got to remember is Miles. He averaged 7 or 8 rebounds a game, but Jaron only averaged like 4.2 or something. So, but what happens from year to year is when guys got to step up a notch, go from the role player to the main player. That's one thing, but also the way people defend you. They're going to defend Cassius differently now because they got 2 other guys out. So you have to rise up. You have to be a little more attention to detail on things because then maybe they're going to jump the ball screens a little more, get back on defense, or maybe they're going to trap you. That's the issues when you lose great players. It takes a little time for those other players to figure out not what their role is, but how to adjust to that role.
What did you think of Foster's performance? You wanted to get him more minutes. I mean, you've been honest about what you expect, but what did you think of it?
Yeah, I still think at times he moved the ball a little bit better and stuff like that. And yet, our points have to be solid defensively. They don't have to be great defensively, but they got to be solid because it's the first point of attack. And times we struggle in that area.
You feel like you're dialing in on the rotation a little bit at least in these next couple games?
I think the next couple games, I think right now we're trying to play 10 and because we need to find out who can step up a little bit with Marcus. Can he? Every day he gets a little better. There's so many things, like setting a screen, and I think he thinks his body is my son Stevens or something, Although probably the weight difference isn't much, but the physical part of the game, he's got to become a little better at. But he really is improving fast, and he's made some great improvements. And even if he got beat a couple times in that game, his length with that 7.5-inch reach, the length makes a big difference. People got to shoot over him; he gets a little piece of it. So we got to figure out what that is. We've got 8 down pretty good, I think, with Kyle and Xavier right now is an enigma to me because it looks like he's not doing that much. And as you saw the plus minus, which I'm not an analytics guy, up in the UP, can't even spell the damn word, but I think there's some merit to when he's in the game, a lot of good things are happening, and that is X. And so we get him a little better offensively now. I think we're going to be a much better team.
Is it the same with Gabe a little bit?
We're looking at Gabe because, he too is getting better. Freshmen, it's the negative with our schedule. Is everybody else is going to, or a lot of teams are going to get a chance to play those guys, and maybe there's some blowouts, and, everything isn't as, we get a couple games here and there, but there's not a lot of room and margin for error for those freshmen, and I guess that's the one negative about scheduling the way we do, but at the same time, they're going to learn under fire, so we'll see how they handle that.
Nick Ward had a career-high 4 assists in a game, and then you had Kenny Goins with about 5
Told you,
assists.
it wasn't a career high. It was a high for his career. In other words, 4 total.
Well, there you go. You have that, and you have Tillman passing, you have Goins passing. What does that add to your offense now that the bigs are able to share the ball and really create some possibilities that way?
I think that does add some things. I think we're averaging like 26 assists on 33 baskets, and that's pretty good over those 2 games. So I think, Kenny can be a good passer, and Nick did throw some nice passes. If he doesn't panic in those double teams like he did last year, he's a much better player. And, I can't tell you how far I think Nick has come now, and yet I reserve from giving him too much credit because experience of the past teaches me that he's probably better if I'm riding him to death. But I like a lot what he's doing, how he's doing it, how he's responding, not letting things frustrate him. He came over and told me to calm down last night, so a little role reversal was kind of fun.
Tom, it is the kind of program you've built. You recruit top of the top players. You get a Marcus in who when asked about you yelling at him, he goes, how much he loves it. He can't believe he's getting yelled at by Tom Izzo.
Yeah, it's not that good of a deal,
I know,
man. My wife doesn't think so. I know that.
But to have a player of his caliber with that attitude, is that what sets him apart?
You know, I told you, he's really skinny and a little weak right now, but not. He doesn't normally mind contact. You know, he's just never set a screen probably in his life. So learning how to do that, but he'll go in there and get bonged around and, you know, like a
but you
pinball.
yell at him and he smiles. He's
Yeah. Sometimes that ticks me off too. I don't know what he thinks is funny, but no, all kidding aside, Marcus has been great to coach. And it's not easy for these freshmen, especially under the situation they're in. And everybody knows we got to find a couple of them that can play right away. And especially with these new rules, you know, what happened if Nick gets one of those goofy fouls like they get and all of a sudden he's out of the game, you know, it's like targeting in football, you know, just different. But I appreciate all those freshmen. They're all able to handle things, you know. I think for the most part, Aaron still is a little bit above the other guys, but I'm starting to see Gabe make some progress. He's made huge progress. If he keeps it up, he'll be in that playing group.
You said Xavier, a lot of things, good things happen when Xavier's on the court. But where do you want to see his individual games? How much?
Scoring more. You know, he's got to have. I think he's worked so hard on his shooting over the summer, and he is a better shooter. But he's still, you know, these guys think you're going to get 33s or something. You know, you're not going to do that. And he needs to be able to score down around the basket. He made one left-hand hook. He's not the biggest guy in America, even though he's physically big. So he's got to learn to get it off with his right hand, left hand, some jump hooks. You know, he can go up and dunk it. He's got great quick hops. So I think you're going to see Xavier improve. One thing about Xavier, he's smart and he understands things and he takes things really well. So he'll get better this week.